Who is the golden serpent? Hi, and welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I've been doing some deep reading here on the golden serpent, and I think that I've come to find out exactly what they mean by the golden serpent. They say that the golden serpent is the Tuatha De Danann, or the tribe of Dan. And after looking deeply and reading, and I'm reading two books right now. I'm reading Edgar Cayce, The Lives of Edgar Cayce, and I'm also reading on Audible this book while I'm listening to it. It's called Urantia, and it is a book that was inspired. It was written down, it was published in the 50s. It was transcribed through hypnotherapy, kind of like Dolores Cannon does. And this book was transcribed that way through a person that was in hypnosis and wrote down over 2,000 pages of transcribed information through the subconscious. And this book talks about the very beginning of the universe. It talks about everything. And so it talks about how everything came about, how humanity first came about, and it talks about groups of people that were upgraded about 38,000 years ago. Okay, 38,000 years ago was apparently, according to Urantia, 38,000 years ago was when Adam's son, which was the son of Adam, Adama, like we talked about with the Edgar Cayce stuff. Well, Adama, apparently, I've come to find out from the Urantia book, Adama came from the Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael was apparently the one that did the projection. And maybe he goes by Emilius. I'm not quite sure. There are so many different names for the same people. I'm not quite sure. I got to figure that out yet. That's the one thing I got to figure out. So 38,000 years ago, Adam's son was born in the Garden of Eden. Okay, this Garden of Eden had been set up already by this couple named Van and Amadon. Amadon means to love the Lord, which Don means Lord. Don also means Dan. Okay, so Dan means the Lord. So is the tribe of Dan actually the tribe of the Lord? That's interesting. So Van and Abaddon set up the first Garden of Eden for Adama and Eve. And then Adam's son was born 38,000 years ago. But there were already people here on the planet, okay? They had lost their way. Remember we talked about how we were having this sacrifice because we needed to do something to get the people to come back around because they'd just gotten really far off. Well, this is when you get this whole Sumerian legend and stuff that weaves in because you've got these semi-deity people. Well, we got Adam's son born in the first Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden that is built right off, the first Garden of Eden is right off of the island of Crete. Apparently the Mediterranean was not like the Mediterranean today. It was a bigger landmass there. It was a big trading hub, and it was very technologically advanced. Okay, so you had Greek influence. You had all of the countries that line the Mediterranean Sea. They were all technologically advanced. And you had the Phoenicians. So after that garden failed, for various numbers of reasons, they took and moved the garden to Turkey. The garden fails after 100 years, and it got so bad that Adam's son's wife and kids, they went back to the absolute. So Adam's son decided to stay because he really wanted to try to help his father, Adama, and Eve, with the mission, because this mission was to come and give humanity an upgrade. It was to give us a spiritual upgrade, and that's what we got with chromosome number 2. We got that fusion that shows up on chromosome number 2, right? It has to do with the way that our body processes cysteine and phenomelanin. Okay, so Adam's son is 120 years old. And he decides that he's going to go find the place that Van and Amadon had left. After they left the Garden of Eden, they went and they set up what is called the land of Nod in the Bible. Okay, so the land of Nod, and then we have the Nodites. Those were the people that came from Adama and Eve. They were in that same group of people. So they're also what they call these people, like Edgar Cayce talks about them as being the children of the light, or the time of the lily. These were called the children of time. The children of time. But they were all following the law of one, like we talked about the law of one and the universal law. Okay, and so anyway, Adamson goes and finds the land of Nod, and when he's there, he meets another woman, and her name is Radha. And Radha comes from the Nodites, and she's like a princess, basically. She's purebred, so she marries Adamson, and he's 120 years old. And then they have a whole bunch of children here on Earth, because she's committed to the mission. She's committed to the mission. She's committed to bringing light to this day, to this time. So they have the Adamsonites. And so they settle on the border of Iran and Turkmenistan. And so Adamson, he lived to be almost 400 years old. So these people ended up migrating to Greece, India, and Europe 30,000 years ago. Okay, 30,000 years ago. And so this is where you get this group of people that I think are possibly the golden serpents. They're the tribe of Dan, aka tribe of God, tribe of Dan. And maybe it's and we also have this meaning that's coming across in the audio book that's talking about the whole thing that you're always hearing about. You need to have body, mind, and spirit all balanced. Well, they're saying that analogy together combined, when you get body, mind, and spirit, is that when you achieve that you are considered a golden serpent. So I found that was really interesting, that the golden serpent analogy actually comes from being completely body, mind, and spirit balanced. So that was neat. And so this leads to my Greek and Florida theory, okay? So how I ended up figuring that out was I was doing research on my ancestry. And then I started looking up the houses that my family lived in, and I was looking at the house called Stratford Hall that Robert E. Lee was born into, because Robert E. Lee is a later descendant of the Randolph family. And so Robert E. Lee, they said a very poignant part in when they were doing his talking about his life, is that when his dad squandered all their money. His mom was a Randolph. She was a Randolph Custis. So anyway, they had to move, and so when they moved from Stratford Hall, he ran up to his bedroom to say goodbye to the two angels that were on his hearth. Okay, well, it shows a picture of it, and it says clearly on there, J 749 or 745. I'd have to go back and look, but it was 740 something. J. Julian calendar, folks. Julian calendar 745, and it was like cast iron too. And I was thinking, okay, well, we know they confiscated these houses. They cheated these houses. They dug these houses out of the ground. They took materials from other places. So we had to have had people here before 749, the year 749. And who were these people, and where did they come from? Okay, well, these people were Iberian. They were Iberian. And these Iberian people were a mix of the Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Tartessas, folks, Tartarians, the Tartessians, the Celts, the Spanish, the Basque, the Visigoths, and the Moors. All of these influences together were that hub of technology that was circling the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, well, in the mid to late 600s, you had the Muslim conquest coming in there, and those people got out of there. The Phoenicians were amazing seafaring people, And they had already navigated around the whole planet, because before all of this land submerged, you can look on a Google Earth map and you can see all of the land that's just sunken underneath the water. They just followed this crest that went all the way across the whole planet. They'd already been here. They'd settled the whole world. They were in America, but it was an influence of a blended amalgamation of different types of architecture. And so this leads me to my next part, so we have the Greek and we have the Spanish blended agriculture all over Florida and all over the world. And they were advanced group of people. They lived in the Mediterranean Sea. They used each other's technology to teach each other about things. We had these craftsmen, these stonemasons. We had all kind of things. I mean, it was basically these golden serpent people, these children of time, children of the light, law of one, time of the lily, golden age, whatever you want to call it. These people believed that the soul was your personality, that your personality is what came from God. Your individual personality was your God spark, and that you developed that through love and creativity, and that the whole point of being here is so we can fine-tune ourselves, have a physical experience with our vagal nerve system, right? This is why we have a vagal nerve system. It brings all of the senses in. That's the whole thing about having a physical body. They call this the sex planet. Earth, or Uretha, Uretha is called the sex planet. The sex planet. Probably the only place that you can come and have sex in a physical body. See, it's all about physical. Having a spiritual experience in a physical body. And being able to have discipline. And they always say that moderation is perfection. So I guess that the whole thing of coming to this planet is, one, to knock out a bunch of karma, to learn, to experience love, creativity, and work on your divine God spark. That is your personality. Your soul is your creativity. And these people knew how to do it. They put everything in the architecture. They knew how to harvest energy from the planet. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. And then the last thing that I want to talk about before I make the video too long, because we're already in 20 minutes, I've been looking at this book called Florida Place Names. And I found it really interesting that a lot of the names in Florida have changed. But as I'm going through this book, these are all the original names. And I'm telling you what, almost all of them are Greek and Spanish names. No joke. And this is what blew me away. Do you know that we have a city called Adam? We have a city called Adamsville. Yes. We have cities that are named after Adam. We have cities that are named Marion and Marianne. We have counties that are named Marion and Marion. Okay, you know what that means? Mary. Okay, and then there's another town in here. It's called Achan, A-C-H-A-N, and that was an old town that was here in Polk County where I live. Guess what that means? Serpent. Serpent. And I'm pretty convinced, and I think that the Garden of Eden is here. I think that the Garden of Eden is in Florida, because we have State Road 60, which is also Hesperides. Hesperides is the nymphs that guarded the golden apples, and the golden apples are oranges. And also we have a legend where I live, because part of the meteor that hit the Gulf of Mexico 65 million years ago, a piece of it broke off here and formed the mountain, Iron Mountain, that's in Lake Wales. But all of the citrus groves that are all around it, there's one area a couple miles away from there that a Lilliputian was captured in an animal trap twice and was taken to the police station. The police came and picked it up. A belligerent little naked 12-inch Lilliputian. They caught it one time on accident. Their fruit was going missing. They caught it. They let it go because they couldn't understand it, and it was screaming and hollering in some kind of foreign language. They couldn't understand what he was saying. He had a full beard. It would have thought they might would have thought it was a little tiny baby, except it had a full beard, and it apparently was cussing them out. I'm not sure, but when the police took the Lilliputian that night, a whole bunch of Lilliputians came out of nowhere and were throwing rocks at these people's houses that own this citrus grove. But the interesting thing and I did some reading on Lilliputians because I didn't know anything about it until I came across this story that was from my town, and that the nymphs of the garden sing. They sing. And this little 7-year-old girl, she would hear singing when she was helping pick the groves. So I thought, well, that's really interesting. But you know, there's a serpent that is in this story of Hesperides. And the serpent is called Lydon. And, you know, when I was in St. Augustine, which I thought was interesting because, you know, St. Augustine is Augustus or August, and I don't think it's a coincidence. But it's also Volusia County. Volusia County is up that way. Volusia County, there's a word called Lucia, and it's Greek. But Volusia means to turn, to spin, or spiral. So I think that that place might actually be what they were looking for, because there's a fossilized head of a serpent that is in Washington Oaks Gardens in St. Augustine, Florida. And there's an ancient orange grove there. I found an orange when I was walking in the woods there, and I brought it home and planted the seeds. And I have 6 trees growing from that ancient orange tree. And it's a really old tree. So I think there's more to be said about Florida probably being part of Atlantis. I think that Florida is Atlantis. I think that it was part of Atlantis, and that it was destroyed by cataclysms, and that is why we have all of these cities here that are Greek. That's why we have New Smyrna, because Smyrna was originally in Greece, and they moved. They had to keep moving. They moved the first Garden of Eden to the second Garden of Eden. They had the land of Nod. They had the flood. And that's the other thing. There's 3 Noahs in this book. But there was one Noah that was actually like a land surveyor and a wine grower. And he was telling everybody, I'm seeing some signs here. Y'all need to build yourself some houses that are boats, and store up your seeds, and store up put your animals in it, because we're going to get flooded, because every year they were starting to get more and more. It wasn't like it just happened overnight. There were signs. It's just people were not paying attention. Kind of like right now, people are just not paying attention to the signs, but a lot of people are. A lot of people are, because now is the time. This is the children of the time, is right now. All of the people that have stepped forward right now into the light, this is the upgrade. This is what was supposed to be taken out and shared with the world. You know? And I think that this is interesting. I find this very interesting, and I would love to hear anybody's input. What do you think about this? Have you read Edgar Cayce's books? And have you also listened to the Urantia? Urantia is the name of the book. If you haven't, you got to get it, and you got to start reading it. Even if you can get it on Audible so you can listen to it, you know, because it's 2,000 pages. So it's a long read. I'm going to get my hard copy, but I'm definitely listen to it. It's going to take me over 40 hours to listen to it. I was listening to it last night as I was going to sleep, and I was just like, what? I hit the back 30-second button. The back 30-second button. I'm like having to listen to things repeatedly because my mind's just repeatedly getting blown. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to say in this video. So do you think that the people from Iberia, which is an amalgamation of all of these people, the tribes of Dan, the upgrade that came from Archangel Michael through Adam and Eve, do you think that these people settled in the area in the Iberian Peninsula, and that's where we get Tartaria from, because of the city of Tartessos? And Tartessos is in the southern area of the Iberian Peninsula in Spain. And everybody that knows, anybody that was interested in history, because not everybody may know, but, some of us spend a long time, we've been in school, so we got to do brush-ups. But, you had the Magna Carta. You also, and that was down in writing that if you weren't going to become a Catholic, you had to get out. So, but the architecture does not lie. The architecture does not lie. And so if this upgrade through Adam and Eve came 38,000 years ago, so we've got a big window here, right? We got like a 30,000 year window or less, I mean, well, we would have to say that, Adam met this second the second wife, and those were the people that we got this other tribe from. So we have three different groups. We have the people from Van and Armadon, okay? Then we have the first group of people from Adam and Eve, and then we have Adam's son. So because Adam and Eve had other children besides Adam's son, so then we've got Adam's son, who went to the land of Nod after his wife left and went back to heaven. She went back to the absolute because the experiment failed. But Adam's son didn't give up. He stayed, so then he went to the land of Nod and he married Rada. And then Rada had, I don't even know, I haven't got to that part yet, but a lot of kids. So these kids, they sent them out into the world. The old thing, go forth and multiply. Yeah, that's what that was about. It was about spreading the seed. See, all this stuff that we've been talking about seeds being so important, this is why the seeds are so important. And the bloodlines and all this stuff. See, these bloodlines were supposed to be mixed. This was a bloodline of, the way that I understand it, was like administrators, artisans, musicians, builders, craftsmen, everything. And it was to bring about the creative soul or the creative spirit of humanity. So we could raise the vibration, and get back to love, the love frequency. And that, take us back into the golden age, So what do you think? When do you think that they made it to the United States, pre-United States? Do you think that it was between 600 and 700? Do you think it was earlier? Do you think they never made it here? Do you think that Tartaria was Tartessos and it was the Iberian Peninsula? And I think that everybody needs to get their genealogy done, because I would have never been able to figure this out if I had not done my own genetic family line and found out the path that my family took from Southeast Asia on through to the Iberian Peninsula and then here. So everybody should do it. You got to find out where you come from. You need to find out what your blood type is. You need to find out where your family's ancestry went, so you can find out, so you can better manage your health and wellness and your temple, because this is what the body is. This is the sacred temple. So with that, I want to thank you for spending 24 minutes with me. I don't know how I'm going to label this video, because this was a huge amalgamation, but it was a lot of information in one video. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, the present, and the future, all at the same time. So I encourage you to spend some time tapping into your creative force or your soul. And with that, I hope to catch you on the next one. So thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme and have a great day. Bye-bye.